Welcome to Power Up Recovery with Nutrition. It is time to make nutrition part of the conversation. I'm your host, Christina Veselak, and I'm so glad you're here. Did you know that it's our brain's job to allow us to cope with stress gracefully? But to do that, it needs to be fed optimally. Have you ever wondered why so many committed people relapse or maybe even die? Why so many people on psychotropic medication still feel lousy and still have cravings? What if the missing piece is food, the right food? What if the right nutrients like amino acids or even eating protein every 4 hours could actually balance your brain chemistry and your mood without medication and support lasting recovery? In this podcast, we explore the powerful connection between feeding your brain well, mental health, relapse, and recovery from addiction. We will share insights from experts, inspiring recovery stories, and practical strategies you can use today. Whether you're in recovery, a healthcare professional, or someone passionate about emotional well being, this show is for you. Let's dive in and discover how fueling your body and brain with the right food, the right amino acids, and other key nutrients can fuel your transformation today. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Power Up Recovery with Nutrition. This is your opportunity to hear wonderful success stories of both a personal nature and a professional nature, hear the science behind nutritional approaches to addiction and mental health recovery, and everything in between. Today, I have the privilege and honor of having a conversation with Dr. Shelly Wahlstrom, who is an old friend and has taken this information and run with it in rather incredible ways. So I think you all will be totally inspired by her story. Welcome, Shelley.
Hi, Christina. I'm so excited to be here. Not only just because our you and I have a connection to you. I think that I think the world of you. You helped change my life. You helped change now have changed over 30,000 people just from one person.
My intention, so I'm so delighted to hear, the ripple effect, right?
Absolutely. It's so interesting to me. I live in Roy, Utah, which, in the West, and all people will contact me and they're from New York. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is so fun because people are hearing about it finally. It used to be the best kept secret. So
Mhm.
now it's finally moving, it's finally getting out into the community and into the globally. So I just want to say thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome. So, why don't you share with our listeners how you started this whole journey way back when?
I would love to. I come into this world different than a lot of people. I wasn't a doctor, I wasn't a practitioner. I am a mother. And I have three beautiful daughters. My youngest daughter at age 6 was diagnosed with anxiety, ADD. At the time, I didn't know what to do. The counselor at school said, "Oh, take her to the doctor, get her on some medication. It's just a brain chemical deficiency, and she'll be fine." So I did what moms did, and thought, "Okay, we'll go do that." Took her to the doctor, got her on some medication, thinking, "Yeah, woohoo, we did this. We're we're going to solve the problem." And it didn't solve the problem. It helped a little bit. We took her to counselors, we put her on different meds, and I thought I've done everything a mother can do. Until age 15, she came to me in tears and she said these 6 words. First of all, she said, "Mom, I'm tired of being a doctor's science project." These 6 words changed my life. I just want to feel normal. How many of you have ever felt that way? I just want to feel normal. I'm not looking for grandiose. I just want to feel normal. And those words broke my heart because I thought, I don't know. I'm doing everything I know how to do. And unfortunately for her, she turned to marijuana and alcohol just to feel normal. It rocked my world. I didn't know, I didn't understand addiction. I thought, why are you doing this? You're ruining your life. You're this beautiful teenage girl. And yet I didn't understand it. And so I thought I could either ground her enough or I could love her enough. And that didn't work very well. The other thing is I felt like I was fighting a stream, headed up, fighting this stream of no support. I didn't have support knowing how to help her. And the sad thing is, Christina, is that she was getting the alcohol and the marijuana from the friends of her parents. All right, how was it? Her friends' parents. And that was so hard because I'm like, how do I fight that? I mean, parents are
Right.
supposed to stick together, and yet these parents were giving their kids alcohol, marijuana. And for some, they were able to use it just like teenagers and be done with it. But my daughter became addicted to it. And that was the key. And that was what made it really hard. We got her through high school. Yay. Woohoo. I always say I graduated and I drug her along. And then we're thinking, okay, let's take care of her. Let's get this under control. Just barely 19. Let's see if we can get things straightened out. Because up to that point, we'd gone to juvenile courts. She'd shoplifted. She'd also, all of her life, I mean, she was stealing from us. And we're like, what can we do now? Let's put her in an expensive rehab program. Cost us, I think it was like $24,000 at the time. But I was like, okay, if this makes a difference and this stops her, then we can
Right.
move forward, right? Yay. We can say, we're done. We're done with addiction. So put her into this rehab center. And she did come out clean from alcohol and marijuana. But she came out addicted to sugar, caffeine, and tobacco because they could go to it was at a hospital and they could go to the cafeteria and have whatever they wanted, as much as they wanted. And most of them there were smokers. And so she picked up that. And I'm like, well, okay, she went from this addiction over here to these over here, but at least these are legal. And I may not like them, but I can live with these. And yay, we're done. Woohoo, right? And now you could start this new life over. And unfortunately, that was just the beginning of my hell because 30 days later, she was introduced to methamphetamines from her roommate she was with in the rehab center. And that was her drug. And she was instantly addicted. And I say that meth is a drug of the devil. It changes everything about her. I became afraid of my daughter and I lived in fear. Each time she left my house, I was tracking her. Where is she going? She was the one that was, because she didn't have the money. We knew we're not going to give you any money because you're just going to buy drugs and alcohol. But she did have a car. So she'd drive down to the homeless shelter in Salt Lake City. She would pick up the drugs and then she'd come back and then they'd give her some drugs. So that's how she was getting them. And so it was a world I didn't understand. And I felt hopeless and I felt helpless. How do I help my daughter? What can I do to keep her from hurting herself, killing somebody, hurting me, or ending up in jail? The first time she ended up in jail, I was actually relieved because I was like, oh my gosh, for the first time in years, I know where my daughter's at. But I was like, such a relief. And she got out and, she said, Mom, I'm changing my life. I don't want to do this again. And I believed her. I believe that she believed it.
Right.
Because my thought is, if I ever went to jail, I'd never have to go back. I'd never, one and done. So that's what I assumed would happen for her. And that's when I saw the cycle of addiction. So I'd watch my beautiful daughter. She's just white knuckling it. And she's just hanging on until she couldn't. And then she relapsed and she'd end up in jail. This process happened 4 times. One of the times I actually had to call and have her arrested because she was threatening and attacking me.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's not a
It's so
call.
painful with somebody you love.
Oh, so painful. And I was like, that's not a call a mother should have to make, right? Um, so I just watched the cycle. And finally, after the 4th time, 2017, I saw her. She's getting out. She got out of jail in May. This is her 4th time. She's just holding on. and I see that this cycle start again. And I did the only thing I could do, Christina, and I prayed. I said, God, help me find an answer. I don't want to lose my daughter. 2 days later, there was a Consumer Report on that was local, a guy named Gebhardt, and he was doing a story on how there was a rehab center using specific amino acids through an IV in the rehab programs. And what they found is after 3 days, the cravings started to go away, and after 10 days, they were completely gone. They had an 85% rate of recovery, and I'm like, that's my answer. That's my answer. But it was $1,000 a day. So I'm like, can I have a different answer? And so I thought, well, what if I went and bought amino acids supplements and I just gave her a whole bunch of them? And I called my friend and I said, he was a nurse. I was like, okay, I'm going to go buy all these amino acids. I don't know how they work, but maybe it'll take longer than 3 days. Maybe it'll take like a month, but maybe something would happen.
Let's throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, I'll just go buy them all and just give her a whole bunch of them. And he said, you can't just throw amino acids at people. You need to understand them. I was like, well, okay, that's probably some good advice. So I did the second best thing. Dear Dr. Google, find me a rehab center that uses supplements rather than the IV. And so I found one in Florida. I called, and it was Lyle. And I said to him, what can you teach me about amino acids? Now, first of all, I'm a hypnotherapist. And I had those clients that would come to me and they had the desire. So it wasn't like somebody was like, prove to me you can make this work. They wanted to make a change. And I would work with them and we'd have this great session. I'm like, yes, that was wonderful. And then they come back the next week and it's like I hadn't done anything. And I'm like, okay. And so then I do some more and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? We do another session and they come back again. I said it was like 50 first dates because every time they come back, they leave, they have a great session. And then it was like I hadn't done anything. And I thought to myself, and this is before I even had started looking into this, there must be something chemically not working in the brain. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that something wasn't allowing them to keep the change. So when I called and Lyle was so kind and I said, first of all, I'm a hypnotherapist. I have clients. I feel like there's something chemically not working. Second of all, I'm a mother of a daughter who is struggling with addiction. What can you teach me about amino acids? He said, I can teach you everything you need to know, but in 2 weeks, we're having a training in Salt Lake City, which is 30 miles from my house, and you're going to come and learn everything you need to know. And I was like, thank you. That was my answer. Because then 2 weeks later, now here I am, I'm a mom, and I'm first of all late to get there, which isn't unusual. And I'm walking
a little bit of ADHD, Shelly, there.
a little bit, yeah. And I'm walking in and I'm looking around and there's nurses, there's doctors, there's chiropractors. And I'm thinking, what am I doing here? And Christina, you were teaching and you were talking about one of the amino acids. And there was one spot right in the front of the room. And I thought, oh, great. Now I got to walk into the front of the room and sit down. And you said, you were talking about tyrosine at the time. And you turned to Lyle and you said, Lyle, what do you want to say about this? And Lyle was sitting right next to me. And I was like, okay, I'm in the right spot. I'm here to learn. And what I learned has changed my life because first of all, I was really angry because when I heard this information, I thought, why didn't I know this when my daughter was 6?
Yes.
Right? Because this had been around since the end of the 80s, the 90s, and she was born in the 90s. So had I known about the brain and the new neurotransmitters and how to feed the brain at 6, she may not have turned to drugs and alcohol at 15.
That's right.
And
this is prevention. This is why amino acids and nutrient therapy is all about prevention.
Absolutely. So I left there angry, but that anger moved me forward because I thought, doggone it, I don't want another mother to struggle like I've struggled. I want to reach that mother who has a 6-year-old who is struggling. I want to reach that teenager who is so addicted to their phone and their self-esteem is based on everything that's in that phone, or they're gaming and they're just not functioning, or the adult who is just white knuckling it. And I got so excited I started sharing it with anybody that would listen to me. And here we are today I've written 3 books. I received my doctorate. I've got my own supplement line, Shelly Jo Aminos, which I've combined brain, body, and emotion. So amino acids, nutrition, and hypnotherapy, which you talk about is that 3-legged stool, which creates optimal health. Because we're not just addressing one thing, I'm addressing it as all 3 areas, which now create somebody who is healthy.
Congratulations, Shelly.
Thank you, Christina.
And your daughter?
Is fabulous. She is, when we were going through this situation, first of all, I had changed. I'd given up. I'd given up on her living a normal life. I'd actually given up and thought she's not going to make it to 30. I'm going to lose my daughter to this disease. So she'll never get married. She'll never have children. That was the overwhelming gloom I felt, because the path was not beautiful. I mean, the path was very destructive. Last year, June 27th, she married this amazing man who I adore. And August 24th, she turned 30. And so it's been quite the journey. Wow. This is not anything I never ever would have thought, but going to your class, Christina, has changed thousands, because it changed my life and my family, and I wanted to share it with the world.
So I'm really curious, Shelly Jo, about how this is being received in the hypnotherapy community. Can you tell us a little bit about, the conferences you go to, the people you talk to, the people you teach, and the people you sell aminos to?
I would love to. So I took your class, right? So things started moving very quickly.
And then the next class, and then the next class.
Yeah, the next class. Yes. I am a pro Christina Veselak Academy graduate. Love it. Love what you've taught me. It was interesting, Christina. It was like my brain, this is information I never heard of, and yet it just opened me up and I couldn't get enough.
Right.
And I still can't. I mean, it's just I'm a brain geek. That's what I am.
Well, to me, what's amazing, Shelly Jo, is that you then went on and got your doctorate.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us just a little bit about that before we go into the hypnotherapy thing. What's your doctorate in, and how is this a part of that?
So my doctorate is in a doctorate of philosophy, specializing in holistic life counseling. So it fits all together.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking at the whole thing. And why did I do it? Well, because I wanted to be able to have people listen to me, not as Mom Shelly, but give that with that behind it. They know that there's actually something else there. That
Yes.
not only am I a
You're
passionate mother,
solidly trained and referenced.
yes, I'm a mother, and I've gone on to learn and continue to learn, which is important. And that's why I did it. My dissertation is called Metaphysics, Hypnotherapy, Philosophy, and Holistic Healing Support Christian Beliefs. Because I got into this world and there's so much misinformation on these things that I wanted to be able to share. Right now, it's in a dissertation form. Soon it will be in a book form, because I'm not sure who would want to sit and read a dissertation, but it's pretty interesting. Yes. So that's how that came about. Things just kind of started down this path, and it was one thing after another, and here I am today.
And there's those 3 legs of the stool, as you mentioned, that I'm always talking about: the biochemical, the psychosocial, and the spiritual. And it's always this dance among the 3 legs.
Absolutely. Christina, when I took your class, I was hopeful. I kept thinking, I hope this is the answer. And I asked you this question: can I kill somebody or can I hurt somebody? And you said no. And I'm like, okay, I don't have to know everything, but I can run with it. And so that's why I took off with it, because I'm like, well, you know, as long as I know that those two things, I can make as many mistakes as is needed, but I'm just going to run with this.
Uh-huh.
And
It takes a bit of courage, by the way. So I want to commend you on your courage, on your determination, and on your inquisitiveness, Shelley. Yeah.
yeah, I thank you very much. Yep, I am definitely inquisitive. That's a great word. Yes, it's just when you start to learn about how simple it seems so like, oh my gosh, this is so complicated. But when you get down to it, Christina, it's actually very simple,
That's right. It
right?
is.
You've got
Very clear foundations.
very clear, right? I speak a lot at conferences, and it's like, okay, look, you've got the brain, and it fires these cool chemicals. And when it's firing, it's amazing. But when it's not firing, it's not so amazing. And right? And when it's not amazing, it causes these symptoms, these these feelings and these false moods. And when that happens, the brain says, I want to feel better. And so give me something to feel better. Sugar, starches, caffeine, drugs, alcohol, behaviors, because I want to feel better.
Sure.
And we feed the brain what the brain really needs, those specific amino acids, brain food, I call them. And what it does is it helps to rebalance the brain, which helps to reduce those symptoms and those cravings, which reduces those cravings and addictions and creates a healthy brain. So there's my simplified, what this is all about. So
So how do hypnotherapists respond? I'm actually trained as a hypnotherapist as well. Way back in the year 2000 in Denver, I went through a medical and dental hypnotherapy training program, and I integrated in. I don't call myself a hypnotherapist. I just sort of slide it in here and there as needed. But how have you found people responding to this?
oh my gosh, it's amazing. I don't know if you remember, Christina, but one day we were talking and I had just bought these amino acids. A friend said to me, why don't you have your own amino acids? Why don't you have your supplements? I'm like, I don't know. Who does that? And I found a company. I remember at the time I bought $15,000 worth of product, sight unseen, did not know anything about it. I just knew what I wanted it to do. And then I kept my fingers crossed because my husband's like, you're crazy. Why are you doing this? I don't know. I just feel this need to buy these products, my own product line. And I was getting ready to go to a conference. They were supposed to be there for the conference. They weren't. And now I'm upset because I'm like, wait a minute. I've put all this money into it and I can't even sell them. My manufacturer says, well, why don't you just pre-sell them? And I'm like, okay, people are going to buy them? Like pre-sell? Wow. Okay. And I was mentioning to you that this is what I was doing. And you said to me, don't be surprised if somebody doesn't come up to you and say, will you wholesale this to me? And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding. Really? And I go to the conference and I speak, and this gentleman comes up to me afterwards and he said, will you wholesale these to me? He said, he's a hypnotherapist and he watched the same presentation, the same consumer report I did. But instead of going towards supplements, he went towards the IV and found out that it was so expensive and there was so much legality that finally decided I need to go back and find supplements. So when he heard me speak and he learned about the amino acids, he's like, will you wholesale these to me? And I thought, sure. But that means I need to train you. So with your wonderful blessing, you helped me so that I could do a basic amino acid and nutrition training certification so that I take those hypnotherapists or energy healers or practitioners and I help them add the amino acids and the nutrition because it doesn't matter the modality, it's the same. It's adding those two parts no matter what. And it has been phenomenal. And it's changing lives because when I had my instructor who was a hypnotherapist who taught me hypnotherapy, when I went to him, I said, look, this is what I learned. I'm so excited. He said, well, I can do the same thing with hypnotherapy. And I said, Well, I can do it much faster with a brain that's been fed. And that's the key is, right, is we are I tell people, when you're looking at it, you got the brain, body, and emotions. You've got this emotional part, which it's a big part. And a lot of things that, a lot of reasons that then neurotransmitters are depleted is because of trauma or because they're not being fed or all these things that can go back to the same source. Problem is it's a chemical in the brain that's been depleted. So if you want it to stick and you want it to be permanent, you're doing the brain and the body and therapy, and it's phenomenal. So each one of my clients, I do a amino acid assessment and a hypnotherapy session. I don't give them the option because there's too many people that I found most people are depleted in the neurotransmitters.
Sure.
Right? And they don't even know about it.
Centers.
Right? But by adding the three of them together, Christina, the results have been phenomenal.
I think that's amazing. So do you have your book that you can show us?
I do. I have it right here. Feed your brain, change your life.
Brain, change your life. Take control of your brain, body, and emotions.
Yep. And you get it on Amazon, and it's even in Spanish. So, and
Alimenta tu cerebro.
Yep. So we can hit
tu vida.
What's that?
Cambia tu vida. Change your life.
Yep. And I don't speak Spanish, so I just had to hope that this is what it's supposed to say.
It is.
Good.
By the way.
Yes. So this is the book. It talks about my daughter's, how I got into this, my daughter's story. It talks about each of those points, the neurotransmitters, what the amino acids are, what the neurotransmitters are, how they work together, how you add in some vitamin and minerals for the absorption, why protein is so important, which is what you keep pushing and pushing. And it is, Christina, it is so important. And then how to do self-hypnosis. So I was pretty excited.
Oh, congratulations. Anything else you want to add?
This stuff works. Bottom line, Christina.
Oh, I know what I want to add, Shelly. Is the Alliance.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so a little bit of history, everybody. Way back in 2007, Julia Ross called me up, and she's the one who wrote The Mood Cure, and said, we are putting on a conference on nutrition and addiction, pretty much the first one ever. But one of our keynote speakers is about to have emergency open heart surgery. And will you be willing to come and speak on nutrition in the family? Well, I had been eyeing this conference and praying about it, and I just didn't have the money to go. So that morning, it was a Saturday morning, I looked at God and I said, I guess I'm not going. And 3 hours later, Julia calls me up and says, we will pay your airfare and we will pay your hotel. And will you speak? So it's like, I guess I'm coming. So I went, and wonderful, wonderful people were there. Everybody around the country who had been doing this got together in this marvelous conference. And afterwards, we gathered. I still remember we were all sitting by the swimming pool. And we created a nonprofit organization so that we could support each other, so that we didn't feel like we were just like blowing in the wind, and so that we could get this amazing life-saving information out into the world. And that was when we started, and we didn't quite have a name. It actually took us about 3 months to both get incorporated and get a name. But we finally decided upon the Alliance for Addiction Solutions. And that was 2007. And it has gone through several iterations and boards since then. And I was executive director for a little while there, and then moved on because it was time for me to start the academy and then my own nonprofit. But our latest board, includes Shelly Jo.
Yes, and it's an incredible organization. I got into it just because I wanted to take your class, Christina, and you were given a discount. If somebody signed up for the Alliance, you gave us a $75 discount on the class. I'm like, okay, that's great. I'll do that. So for the first couple of years,
the Alliance was $50.
Oh, was it $50? What? Yeah, yeah. But it
Yeah.
was like, okay, that's worth signing up for, right? So I signed up for it and I followed it a little bit. Mentioned Julia. When I first took your class, you say, read the Mood Cure book. And I read it and I thought, I want to meet her one day. And I remember at the Alliance, she was one of the roundtable speakers. I signed up for the Alliance, and oh yeah, Julia was doing this roundtable, and I signed up. And I thought, oh my gosh, I get to learn from her. And then I told her I wrote my book, and then she called me and said, I read your book, and I thought, oh my gosh, I hope I wrote it and that she liked it, and she did. So she called and we met, and I actually used her help to kind of solidify the book. That's why it has an acknowledgement on there for her. But I became very excited about it. And what the purpose of the Alliance is a resource. Christine, we were talking about that. We want to be a resource where we
Like a hub.
a hub, yeah, for people who are either in the addiction world because a practitioner, they love somebody who's in the addiction, or somebody who's struggling with addiction. Just because we have the resources to say, here, you can call this person or utilize and bring in speakers for free so that people can keep learning and have a place to go, that they're learning this information that's not out anywhere else about the biochemicals and how important that is for addiction and how it can make a difference.
Well, Shelley, for years when I was actively involved in the Alliance, I was actually going to addiction conferences with the Alliance for Addiction Solutions table. And this is the first time anybody at any of these addiction conferences had ever heard about the biochemical aspect of addiction and recovery. And for the longest time, it would be me here and they there, and they thought I was absolutely crazy for thinking that nutrition had anything to do with recovery. And I thought that it was a little odd that they didn't realize that nutrition had everything to do with recovery. That was like 15 years ago. And now there's this shift. And I'm hoping that because I'm now continuing to go to conferences as the Academy and as Eating Protein Saves Lives. And hopefully the Alliance will be able to start going back to conferences with the same message. Because the more the merrier, and the more we get this message out, the more lives will be saved.
Oh, I agree. Christina, the conference that you just put on was unbelievable. And we got to be there. I got to be there as myself to let people sample my amino acids, which is so much fun because I love when they do and they light up because they work so quickly. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is like Christmas to me. And I was also there as the Alliance to
Mhm.
promote and get, practitioners to join, because as a practitioner, you get to be on the directory. You get to speak. Once a month, fourth Wednesday of the month, we have a speaker, and it's just introducing people to lots of different modalities and different things that we know can help with in recovery. And it's $10 a month. It's like, seriously, right? I mean, $10 a month, $120 to be in this board. I'm speaking, also not speaking, but I'm going to the American Naturopath Medical
Oh.
Association, right? Is that what it is?
Mhm.
One of the other gentlemen on the board, Dr. Salvatore, is speaking. And so
Nice.
it's in Las Vegas. We're going to share a table just like we did this time with the Alliance and what I'm doing. And so the word is starting to get out, Christina. And it's so much fun because the connection at your conference has been phenomenal. The ripples just from that conference has been unbelievable in my world.
Wonderful.
And that's what, as an Alliance, we want to be able to help. I do the newsletter this month. I'm promoting your podcast. So we want to get the movers and the shakers and the people aware that people are doing stuff. This is moving forward. I mean, when we're in our little world, we think that we're the only ones here. But you go to a conference with people that have been trained through your amazing schooling, and it is starting to get bigger because the effect is getting bigger.
It is. Well, I'm so excited that you and Salvatore are going to this conference, the Naturopathic Doctor Conference. That's amazing.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. It's a whole new
Joy.
world for me. So not only do I get to go and promote what I do and the Alliance, I'm opening myself up to a whole other practice that I don't know anything about.
Well, I think you know more, having been through my advanced and then advanced class. I think you know more than you think you do, actually.
True. I'm gonna bring that back. I just don't understand the naturopath as far as the
Who they
homeopathy,
are and what they do, sure.
what they actually do. You're right, Christina. The information that I learned in your classes beyond the amino acid class has made a huge difference because a lot of the things you're teaching, you don't hear it in standard
No, you
practice.
don't. You don't. And it makes such a difference. Well, what a wonderful conversation. I love hearing everything you're up to.
I appreciate you so much, Christina. Thank you so much for letting me be on here, share my passion, and share that it works. This is working. I tell people I've seen miracles, Christina. They're not magic. I mean, you can buy all the supplements you want, and if you don't use them, they're just, I call them, mine are really pretty and they're just pretty supplements sitting on the shelf. But when somebody can take them and take them the way they need it, miracles are happening and people's lives are being changed.
Thank you so much for coming to this podcast, appearing on my podcast. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. Glad you're here. Please push the like button and share it with all your friends and colleagues and family members. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Power Up Recovery with Nutrition. I'm Christina Veselak, your host, and I hope today's episode has inspired and equipped you with new insights and tools to support your recovery journey or practice. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who could benefit from the knowledge shared here. Stay connected with us for more episodes filled with practical advice, expert wisdom, and inspiring recovery stories. Remember, nutrition is a powerful tool in mental health and relapse prevention. Power up your recovery today. I'm Christina Veselak, and I'll see you next time.